on a budgetary, I'm sure the rest of the board would like something similar to this, since we're on the topic. You know, if we're purchasing this new school board, it'd be nice if it went into some software that said, okay, purchase in 2024, estimated life 10 years. You know what I mean? And that way, every year, the director of facilities could print out a list, the board
Physical
was put
assets.
exactly, a list of assets, so and help you budget what's gonna need to be replaced, you know what I mean? So, it's a different conversation, but,
We got almost 16 years out of this last one.
we don't wanna go that long.
Well, I'd be willing to bet if you do some programming right on the board, you can advertise. Would you like to advertise here? See.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And you
As I
could
said,
probably
there's
sell
endless
advertising right there
possibilities,
at your games and your athletic events.
Good thinking. Never thought of that.
All right, thank you, Carrie. That's going to be on the agenda tonight to approve. The other thing I want to talk about that's on the agenda, most of the other items are pretty standard that you're going to be asked to approve, but just the sale of the land outside of our admin building. Brett, are you able to take a few minutes and just describe what we're planning on doing or
Sure.
selling? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. When we bought the property on Randall Court, there's a significant piece of land adjacent to the building, which really we have no use for, and Weaver Properties, who owns and develops many of the properties up in Bushy Run Industrial Park, is interested in it. A lot of it is not usable, a lot of it's hilly, so there's only really a small envelope that he can build on. So we went and we had two independent appraisers came in. We agreed with Mr. Weaver that we would take the average of the two appraisals, which came in at $76,000. And he plans on, he wants the sale done as soon as possible because he'd like to start developing. He already has a tenant for his building that he's gonna put on there, so he wants to get moving with it as soon as possible. You see he's building two buildings right adjacent to us right now, and he wants to get this third one going as soon as possible. So, he's gonna pay us $76,000. It will be under the LERD up there, so we'll get tax on the land, but we won't get tax on the building until that LERD runs out. But eventually go back in the tax rolls, and I think it's a very good thing for the district.
You know the actual amount of those two appraisals?
I think one was 71,
Yeah, and the other one was 80,
like 86 maybe?
something like that.
Yeah.
The average came out to 76.
Yeah, it must have been 71 and 81 if it's 76 average.
It was, yeah, something
I
like
don't
that.
Dallas, is that a 5-year alert over there, Dallas?
There you go.
The LERTA?
Good
Yeah.
math guy.
The LERTA is a phased out. I believe the first year, there's no, it's total tax abatement, and then 20%.
Over 5 years though, or what's the?
Yeah, I
5
think it's
years,
5
yeah.
years, yeah.
So in other words, the school board will, the taxing entity will start receiving, after the first year, will start receiving money back at a reduced rate, and it'll increase. By the end of those 5 years, you'll be getting whatever it would have been without full rate. So we'll realize money after the first year.
Whenever we first, before the term LERTA was even, acronym LERTA was even initiated back in the 80s, they came to us, Westmoreland County Development people, I don't know the exact name right now. I know the guy in charge, he married a Del Rosso, grew up in Trafford, that's the only way I knew him. Anyway, they came and we did a 3-year exemption. The first 3 years, there was no similar to what goes on right now. Then starting year 4, it was full taxation. So that's, alert is the same, similar to that. It's a step up, the 5-year step, and I think every alert is negotiable. I don't think it's, everything's etched in stone.
Well, you negotiate them up front,
Yeah.
and it's in chunks of property. That property is in a negotiated situation. But Brett has probably noticed this. Some of the buildings have been going up. They have been getting out of the LERTA, some of those newer buildings. They're phasing out, so we're starting to realize, and I don't know how much, the revenue from the buildings you see
You're getting
growing
it.
out up there. So we're getting more tax revenue.
We are.
And within 5 years, all those buildings will be out of their LERTA. And some of them are in 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, whatever.
That's a booming area. It's excellent.
Mr. Weaver told me today that one of the companies that he'd already built for is coming from Plum Borough, and the other one's coming from Murraysville.
Yeah.
The two that he has almost done.
Well, Dollar Bank's one of them.
Dollar Bank's one of
Now,
them.
now,
Were they
Brett,
putting like a corporate office in there?
Brett, this,
They must be, yeah.
our parking lot will not be touched, correct? Our
No.
parking
No.
lot's in good shape?
No, nothing.
It's just
not
the
in-
land that
Everything is
we
all right?
absolutely
Yes.
do not need.
And
do not
how
want.
much do we still own beyond the parking lot before the grade starts dropping down there? Is it still,
It's pretty much at the top of the grade.
it's up to, I'm just concerned about the parking lot being right at the edge.
It's pretty close to the edge.
Well, it's pretty strong, solid underneath there, we
Oh,
should.
it is. I mean, this building's been here for years.
Well-
And then we don't have to maintain any
They
of
say
that
it's
either.
less mowing.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
we
just-
don't-
'cause I'm-
we do
I
not
don't
want
wanna
the
take
land.
away from that parking lot
No,
and start
it's not
subsiding,
gonna
that's all.
infringe on the parking lot at all, and again, the
Okay.
less that we have to maintain, really honestly.
5 or
the
10
better.
years now, start sloping
Well,
down,
he
all
has
right.
setback requirements he'll have to maintain, so he can't encroach to the point where he cause damage. He's gonna work on the most workable property. I have a rough plan, I asked him for it, he gave me I think it's the final subdivision plan I actually have. And it's not gonna, the only thing is, we
Okay.
need to clarify the access for his ingress and egress. Is that clarified now?
Cause that's a pretty nice drop,
Yes.
Dallas. That's a nice drop down there.
And it'll stay nice, I
Okay.
believe.
All right.
And Nick, he's not touching the parking lot, because remember, we're trying to rent that whole first floor still. We want at
Oh, he
least it.
can't touch our parking.
Well, I know,
That's-
but that's just another reason
Yeah,
we
I'm
need
worried
it.
about 10 yards away, start chewing
You're
away.
you're
and-
worried about the property
and
sloughing
so-
away,
yeah,
and I don't. when
I've
there's a
seen
grading
that happen.
change, I
Okay.
have to.
We just like to get the advertisement out that, yes, we're leasing the first floor of the.
I'll be gone, Dallas, so make sure you're still around.
I got more building I got this year and 3 more.
All right, and that action item's on for tonight, too. We want to do that as
Have to
well,
build a
so we can
wall.
start the next process with it. But that's all I have for information.
Okay, we have no visitors tonight, and we're gonna be jumping back and forth. You usually read the stuff,
That we're going to announce next week.
but then we do have some action items, so
I can, you want me to read it and stop when there's an action
you
item?
wanna take me through?
Yeah, just
All right.
read them and then when you get to action items,
Sure.
turn it back over to.
Under athletics and extracurricular, we don't have any action items for tonight, but next week, we're gonna ask you to employ fall athletic and year-round extracurricular personnel, as well as approve of volunteer coaches. Under budgets and finance, we have 3 action items, and, I'm sorry, we have 1 action item,
Yeah,
so
just one under the
I'll ask you to stop and approve that.
That's Mr.
So
Neiman.
Mr. Neiman,
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to approve the purchase of scoreboard equipment for Warrior Stadium from Institutional Specialties Incorporated in the amount of $155,800.
Second.
Question.
question being called for, this will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
That's all I have, Mr.
No,
President.
you go.
Yeah, no, under next week, we're gonna ask you to approve contributions to area libraries, which might be the last year we actually do that, because we was on a phase-out plan for that, and approve revised compensation rate. For buildings and grounds and safety, the first 2 items are action items. 1 relates to the sale of property we just talked about.
Okay, that would be me, I say. So, having had our discussion, I'll make the motion to approve the sale of the excess property at 1100 Randall Court to Weaver Property Management Incorporated in the amount of $76,000. Copy of the final sales agreement will be filed in district's business office. Just for clarity, we're selling 3 acres roughly? Roughly,
Closer to 4.
closer to 4. I looked this over pretty good. I walked it, I looked at the frontage, I looked at the ingress and egress, and I think it's a good idea to do it. And I'm pretty tough on stuff like that, so I make the motion to approve.
Second. Question.
Question being called for, this will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
Okay, I have another action item to approve a stormwater management agreement. I'll read the motion verbatim. Move to approve the stormwater management system agreement with Weaver Property Management Incorporated. A copy of the agreement will be filed in the district's business office.
Second.
Question.
Question being called for, this will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
Then next week, we're gonna ask you also to approve substitute custodians. If anyone's interested in joining the substitute custodian, please see Peggy Julianne. We also have 2 full-time custodian positions available at this time too. So if you want a nice job with benefits and a pension and insurance, please see Peggy as well. Next week, under Employee Relations, Negotiations, Transportation, approve bus drivers and monitors. We probably have the need for maybe 1 or 2 more bus driver. We are fully staffed. We always like to have extra that she uses as super subs. So if you're interested, please reach out to First Student.
Dr. Harris?
Yes.
Could you give an update on that bus purchase?
We do have an update. If you remember during maybe the April school board meeting, we had different parents coming from the Children's Institute several times during the past school year, and this was terrible. The bus broke down. It didn't even start sometimes. There was a lot of issues with the bus, and we addressed them with First Student. And First Student, the local operation was definitely on board. The headquarters was on board, the main people. Unfortunately, everyone was on board. We just weren't getting a bus. So through all that, we ended up asked for an update. We should have a bus by the start of the school year, which is all we wanted, and it is a brand new bus. So I do thank First Student. I'm sorry it took so long, but I do at least appreciate the fact that we should have a bus to start the school year off with.
Dr. Harris, something else on transportation. Was this the first year that Dr. Nix did that, and not yourself? Who did the routes?
The first year coming up, we're actually, we're changing the ownership from myself to Dr. Kubistek.
Okay. Has she done it yet?
The routes are being done right now.
What kind of capacity do you put on these buses?
Well, I know the
I'm
state
getting-
law says that you can do up to 72, but we choose not to go that high.
And is the actual capacity that high? If you
No.
talk to people around the school district, these buses are running half empty. So I'm wondering if that's taken into consideration to eliminate bus routes.
We
or-
have
or
looked
number
at
of
that
buses we
because
use.
once you do a bus route, you get charged the elementary, middle school, and high school run. Like, for example, our high school run, if you would come up in the morning, is a very small number of students. But the only reason we keep that is because we do a run with the middle school and we base it off the middle school and the elementary school. So we
And
need the extra buses.
Don't we have to have a seat for every student, whether they ride the bus or not?
You do, but we take that into consideration as well, but we also try to modify that because we realize.
We know you're
that
not gonna get them, but technically, that's why we need to.
Technically,
run
you
it
have
when
to,
we do
but
it, right.
there is this percentage that just doesn't do it because we have a lot of car riders every day as well.
Yeah, that's the point I was getting to. I think parents nowadays tend to take their kids to school, and a lot of kids now want to drive. So I just want to make sure we're using the funds wisely as far as.
I agree with you.
You know.
We look at that every
I
year.
hate to look at buses half empty.
No, I know that's something that,
In our day, they were full.
something that Dr. Harris looks at very closely every year is the routes and the capacity, and we're always trying to reduce to the number that we really need. And I'm sure he'll help Dr. Kubisak do the same thing.
Thank you both.
And in prior discussions, it always ended up, one of the big factors was length of travel and time for student on a bus. To try to fill them up more, it just wasn't practical. And I don't know what the capacity, you said that you could have up to 72 students?
Believe it or not, you can have up to 72.
you can't.
There's
The
24
bus
seats.
has to haul that.
Um,
It has
three to
have-
seat.
3 in a seat, 24 seats, it's 72.
So every bus has enough capacity.
We don't do that, but
Take half.
Please don't do
bus.
that is what
Yeah.
you would
Please
do.
don't put 3 kids in a
Can you
seat.
imagine the bus?
Oh, man. They told us at Career Tech one time to do that, put 3 of those big kids in a seat. Oh, man. The state, they have to make different adjustments for every stage to give growth the size of the student.
Sure.
Skinny little kids, maybe.
no.
Under
Three in a seat
food
is tough.
services, we're gonna ask you to approve cafeteria personnel. We still have some openings. If you wanna work, please see the arrow mark. Terry Chavera. Adopt a free and reduced lunch program resolution, approve the milk supplier, approve the breakfast and lunch price. And we have another action item under personnel or curriculum from Mr. Katasik.
All right, thank you, Dr. Harris. Would everybody like me to read each individual person?
No.
Move to employ the following personnel. New employment is contingent upon the receipt of all necessary documentation and the acceptance of Act 34, 151, and 114 waivers from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania within 30 days, as listed.
Second.
Question.
Question being called for, this will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries.
That's all I have, Dr. Harris.
All right, next week, we're gonna ask you to accept retirement, designate official raters, approve staff assignments, approve student handbooks, approve substitute teachers and support personnel, approve personnel agenda, issue professional contracts, approve an educational service agreement, approve medical access physician, approve a conference. Under policy, public relations, legislative Title II, we're gonna ask you to tentatively approve board policies and admin regulations. Under taxes, insurance, census, we're gonna ask you to award the athletic sports insurance, award student accident insurance, approve the LRTA resolution, which we also talked about tonight briefly. Adopt a revised homestead and farmstead exclusion resolution, and approve the sale of the property from the unsold property repository. That is all we have for next week. I'm turning it back to Mr.
All
Stover.
right, I have a motion for adjournment. Second.
Done it before, question?
Question? Adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.